Give me a minute and let's talk about what's happening in Tbilisi, Georgia right now. There are 150,000 people in the streets protesting against the Foreign Agents Bill and the anti-LGBTQ legislation that is currently under consideration in the parliament in Georgia. Now, look, the reason for this is because if this legislation is adopted, then Georgia's EU candidacy status goes right out the window. And the people of Georgia have spoken clearly. They want to move away from Moscow. They want to be part of the West. Of course they do. Who wants to be kept in poverty under the thumb of the Kremlin when you could live a decent life aligned with Western democracy? Because that's what you get in Western democracy, the chance for a decent life that's not controlled by somebody else. And so the people are in the streets. The protests have, in spite of the police coming out and hitting the protesters hard for a couple of nights running with rubber bullets, water cannons, dogs, truncheons, the whole 9 yards, tear gas, the people of Georgia are speaking in one loud voice. Enough. Enough. And they're in the streets to face down the autocratic and fascist regime that is trying to do this to them. Now, the tensions over this legislation have gotten so heavy in light of the protests, in light of the pressure from the pro-Kremlin forces, that the Georgian parliament yesterday devolved into a brawl on the floor between the pro-democracy and pro-Kremlin forces. And the parliament had to be recessed for the day. And so there are forces inside of Georgia that hear the people and are standing up to the money and the power and the bullies that have been bought by the Kremlin inside the parliament to try to keep Georgia in Moscow's orbit. Georgia is a domino to watch. What happens here, what happens with this legislation, whether it gets through or whether it is defeated, will tell us which direction the wind is blowing in this part of the world. Is Moscow's influence on the wane, as it appears to be? Or does Moscow still have a hold on Georgia that it's going to take real violence to break?